Some of you may not know the saga of Largo, Florida, depending where you're coming from. Largo is a small city nestled between Clearwater and St. Petersburg. About 2 months ago, at the end of February, the largest newspaper in this area, the St. Petersburg Times, broke an exclusive story that Steve Stanton, the city manager of Largo, the city's highest civil servant, was in the midst of gender reassignment. It was a hard story to read, particularly because in that newspaper article, the St. Pete Times acknowledged that Stanton had planned on sharing his situation with his teenage son this summer, after school let out, in order to spare him the reaction of his classmates. That plan fell by the wayside as the media developed its own timeline. It was perhaps predictable after the news broke that mass hysteria would ensue. The St. Petersburg Times was flooded with letters denouncing the city manager. Residents overwhelmed the Largo City Hall with emails and phone calls demanding that Stanton be fired. What I did not expect was that the city commission, Largo's elected officials, their equivalent of their city council, would buy into this hysteria. Within days, an emergency hearing of the city commission was called. The hearing, in fact, was scheduled to take place just 6 days after the newspaper article broke. Not even a week would have passed. Now, as I move into this story, Abi should really be standing next to me because from the beginning, we were partners on this issue. We resolved to work together on this and initially sent joint letters to every member of the Largo City Commission and to the St. Pete Times. We decided we would jointly attend the City Commission's emergency hearing in just a few days. Friends, if there was ever any doubt that Unitarian Universalism matters, please put that question to rest. We saw that night why our faith matters, why our presence and why our public witness matters. At this emergency hearing, there were perhaps a dozen liberal clergy, perhaps. The conservative clergy showed up in force with buses full of parishioners. They dragged into the commission chambers boxes full of documents and research that they had somehow done in just a few days' time, all in order to establish their case for firing the city manager. What ensued that night was a gut-wrenching spectacle. Every time anything negative was said about Stanton, people seated in the viewing rooms leapt to their feet. They clapped, they cheered, they jumped up and down in joy at the prospect of ruining a man's career. There was little dignity, there was little respect at Largo City Hall that night. Abi was granted the privilege to address the City Commission and spoke eloquently about the nature of civil rights, human dignity, and about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. He urged the Commission to not allow a tyranny of the majority to prevail. With equal conviction, with dozens of parishioners arrayed behind him, and to shouts and screams of joy, the senior minister at Largo's Baptist Church proclaimed that Stanton was a disgrace, that, quote, even Jesus would fire him. The entire event was nothing short of a modern-day lynching, a formality in justifying a conclusion that had already been ordained. Stanton was fired, and there was not a shred of justice in it.